I was scrolling through the Runescape wiki looking for a way to train fletching that wasn't making broad arrows, and I saw that adding feathers to darts was a fast, albeit expensive way to train. Rune darts can take you from 81 to 99 in about 11 hours at the cost of 140 million GP. That's about 13 GP per XP. Not too bad. But if you took this training method to its extremes, you could spend nearly 400 million GP to go from 95 to 99 in just 3 hours with dragon darts. We're talking 90 GP per XP. And that got me thinking, what training methods are there in the game that no one would ever consider doing? What methods are so expensive, so ludicrous, that even the price-manipulating party hat collectors would take pause? Here's just a few of those methods I happened across. But first, a disclaimer. None of these calculations factor in experience boosts from skilling outfits, portable skilling locations, pulse cores, none of that. It's all just base XP calculation. Honestly though, it really doesn't matter. Some of these methods would be totally dumb even if they were a tenth the cost. There's this item called an auto sanctifier. It is identical to a gilded altar with 2 burners lit. While it's in your inventory, any ashes you scatter or bones you bury will grant you 350% increased prayer XP. The catch is, it only lasts for 50 uses. However, you can bury bones and scatter ashes much faster than you can offer them on an actual altar. More importantly, you can bury a set of bones and scatter a pile of ashes in the same game tick. If you're optimal, you can bury and scatter 5,000 bones and 5,000 ashes in a single hour. What makes this absurd is the bone and ash choice. Take searing ashes and reinforced dragon bones. Together they cost 160,000 GP, meaning after an hour, you'll have spent 800 million GP. But how much experience would spending all that GP get you? 700 XP per ash, 665 XP per bone? This would result in 6,825,000 XP in a single hour. That's 123 GP per XP. But, you know, that's not that much more expensive than dragon darts. We need something a bit more ridiculous. Now this next one I'm sure you've heard of. It's been around since 2006, and it even exists in old school RuneScape. At level 99 construction, you unlock the ability to build a demonic throne. It requires 25 magic stones and grants 25,000 experience. Trouble is, each magic stone costs 975,000 GP. Each throne will cost you 24,375,000 GP. But, and here's the exciting part, you can make around 480 thrones in an hour if you use your butler to fetch the stones from your bank. This means you can earn 12 million experience in a single hour for a nominal fee of 11.7 billion GP. This works out to be 975 GP per XP. I guess if you have more money than sense and want 120 construction ASAP, here's your method. Should take less than 10 hours. Okay. This one's really simple. It's just cooking, no different than the standard method of training cooking. But I wanted to know what would be the absolute worst food to cook. Raw Corbicula Rex meat costs around 300,000 GP. Cooked Corbicula Rex meat costs around 5,000 GP. Needless to say, cooking this meat results in a bit of a loss. It must grant a ton of XP, right? Well, you can cook about 1,200 items per hour, give or take. This means it will cost you almost 354 million GP per hour to cook Corbicula Rex meat, and this would net you a whopping 205,000 XP. That's 1,735 GP per XP. Don't train cooking this way. Please. Cutting gems is a pretty standard way to level your crafting. It's how I trained crafting on my Iron Man, in fact. It's fast and rather affordable. Even cutting dragon stones is only around 5 GP per XP, and since you can cut between 4 and 5,000 per hour, let's just say 4,500, cutting dragon stones can get you around 600,000 XP per hour. It's pretty good, but what about cutting Hydrixes? Cutting a single Hydrix loses you about 900,000 GP. If you could, somehow, get your hands on 4,500 uncut Hydrixes, you could cut them all in a single hour, costing just a hair over 4 billion GP. All this money, a king's ransom, for a measly 888,000 XP. We're talking over 4,500 GP per XP. Although honestly, if you can get a hold of that many Hydrixes, you'd probably have the power to manipulate the market. This final method is hard to quantify. This is because it relies on the average component prices calculated by the Runescape wiki. It's not that those averages are bad, it's just that they're more theoretical than practical. Regardless, we can use those numbers to demonstrate the scale of how stupid training invention this way would be. But it requires setup. First, you need to empty your bank completely. Remove everything from it. That's probably easier said than done, but you gotta do it. Next, you'll need the maximum amount of bank space possible. As of right now, in March of 2022, the most bank space you can have is 1,470 slots. Lastly, you'll need 1,470 ancient weapon gizmo shells. This alone would cost around 500 million GP to procure, but let's assume you already have them lying around for some god-awful reason. Trust me, this 500 million GP investment isn't going to change the final result by much at all. Oh, and you'll also need 13,230 shadow components. So here's the method. When adding perks to a gizmo, you can repeat the same arrangement of components over and over again, creating new filled gizmos. You can do this every tick, meaning it should only take 27 game ticks to create 27 gizmos. However, sometimes gizmos fail and nothing happens, which wastes nothing but time, and it's still in the game for some reason. You also have to spend a little bit of time filling up the initial gizmo. So let's say it takes 45 ticks to fill the gizmo, spam create 27 of them, open the bank, and load a new preset. So it averages out to 1 second per gizmo. To finish all 1,470 gizmos would take 1,470 seconds, or about 24.5 minutes. But how much XP would you get? Shadow components grant 2,100 XP each, so a gizmo with 9 of them would grant 18,900 XP. Making 1,470 would result in a total of 27,783,000 XP in the span of 24.5 minutes, 68 million XP per hour. But damn, how much could that cost? Shadow components are the most expensive component, on average, costing around 14.75 million GP. To fill 1,470 gizmos with 9 shadow components each would cost 195 billion GP, making this method cost a whopping 7,018 GP per XP. And you'll have a bank full of gizmos to deal with as well. Know of any other absurd training methods I didn't mention? You probably do, since I only talked about 5. Let me know in the comments, and if you're interested, check out my Iron Man series here. Subscribe, like, bell, you know the spiel. Thanks for watching. Take care.